comrade subscribers. Hope you're all well. I just wanted to do a quick update on how I'm getting on with my internal RAM expansion. So if you haven't seen part one, I got the 8K working. So the idea was to just replace the internal RAM. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Then I moved on to the 32K and I couldn't get that to work. So this is what I was working on. I just got basically a PLD, and what else did I have? I can't remember what else that was. Anyway, couldn't get this to work. I just couldn't get the PLD logic to work. So that was about a year ago. So I've kind of been sitting on it for about a year. And then I kind of had rethought it all, and I came up with this next design, which almost works. We'll show you in a minute. Almost works. Actually, before we go too far, I want to just say big thanks to channel sponsor, long-time channel sponsor, PCBWay. Their support lets me do all sorts of weird experiments like this. So I've got these boards that I'm testing at the moment. Need to redesign it a little bit. I've also got these little dip breakout boards, which we'll have a look at it in a minute as well. And I also want to thank Dave at Tynemouth Software. So he's been helping me figure out where I went wrong in this latest design, and I think we might have cracked it. So, but we'll have to do some further testing. So yeah, let's do a quick summary of what I'm trying to do. Actually, I realised that I should probably show you what is involved in this particular upgrade. So let's lever this out. You can see what I've done. So the idea again is to replace the original RAM with modern SRAM, and also you can replace the original chips as well, something more efficient. But yeah, so you can see what I've done here. So I've removed the two 3 to 8 decoders, and I've removed all the RAM. You don't have to remove all the RAM. For me, it's easier. It's fully reversible. So, okay, you've removed it, but you don't have to cut any traces. That's the whole plan, whole idea of this, is that you can just put the original RAM in, or you can get some new old stock and put some new ones in if you wanted to revert it. I've pulled it all out because it's just, otherwise you need to kind of cut the chip select lines and probably the power as well. Otherwise these old ones kind of interfere a little bit. So it's just cleaner that way in that respect. The board itself, so you can see here I've got my little dip breakouts. So this basically takes the signal from the original dip, from the original sockets to my board, and also back again if necessary. So they're just these tiny little things. You don't need to get these fabbed. You know, you could probably just do some Vero board. But obviously the easy thing with these is that each pair is kind of linked up already. But you know, strictly you don't need to do that. It's just a bit fancy. Do I have one that I built up somewhere? That's an older one. And then the board itself. So I think we'll probably have a closer look, but you can see we've got our signals coming in there, and then you've just got the pins here to fit into the socket. You just fit it in, and then again, like, you can just take it out, put the old chips back in, or put in new chips, and it's, you know, back to how it was. So that's kind of one of the things I was trying to do, and then just plug that back into there. Now, one thing I need to sort out also is that I've either got short ones or I've got very long cables. I just got these from AliExpress. So I need to get some kind of in the middle cables as well, so that it's not so unwieldy. And obviously the final version's not going to have all this stuff on there either. Okay, so here's another VIC that I haven't, I'd say I haven't adulterated as much, but I have done a bit of work to it. So we've got the 5K here. So 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K. That's the built-in RAM on the VIC-20. That's in block 0. So there's 8K blocks. Block 0 has got the RAM at the bottom. There's an additional half a byte, half a K here, 512 bytes. So this is 4-bit actually. So we've got 4 bits and 4 bits, so 512, 512. But that's the color RAM there. So we're not touching that at all. We're just looking at this RAM here. And what I wanted to do is, in case any of these have failed, rather than try and replace it, just replace it with a with an 8K and fill in the 3K that's missing. So that worked okay. It works fine. You can switch it on and off as you need to. You don't really need to do that, I don't think, for block 0. Doesn't affect the software. Anyway, but you can't just replace the RAM, because the way it works is we've got these Simplification 138s, these ones here. One's basically the block 0 or the RAM decoder. The other one's the block decoder. So this one will decode the RAM 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 select signals. So for block 0, because we've only got 5K, RAM 1, 2 and 3 are missing. They're expected to be on the cartridge port. So if RAM 1, 2 and 3 are asserted via this, we've got this, I think it's a 13 input NAND. So if any of those are asserted, this NAND gate here will go low, and I think it's one of these buffers. It'll disconnect the internal data bus from the CPU and connect the external data bus via the cartridge. So even if we just replaced all of this and if we didn't adjust any of the logic here, even if we upgraded this, the CPU still wouldn't be able to see it, because this fellow here would be disconnecting the data bus. So we need to basically intercept those signals and capture them and direct them. Well, we don't really need to direct them to our RAM. We just need to capture them and make sure that they don't get to this. Now for block 1, 2 and 3, similar thing. We've got this block decoder here. So if any of those blocks are asserted, again, we go via this 13 input NAND and the data bus is disconnected. So to get our plus 3K, to get our 8K, 16, 24K expansions, we need to intercept these signals. So that's kind of what I was doing initially with this, is I was trying to replicate or reproduce the logic. And then I kind of realized, well, why don't I just move these onto my board so that I can generate the signals myself and then decide whether or not I want to send them back to the VIC motherboard, or whether I want to kind of hold them and access the RAM that I've got. So that's kind of what I've done with this other design. I'll get this one otherwise, bring the other one in. Right, so what Dave explained to me, and this was the understanding that I was missing. So when the VIC needs to, so basically the VIC and the CPU, the 6502, they share the bus. So when the clock, the FAT is high, I think the CPU is accessing the RAM. So yep, all good. But when FAT is low, it's the VIC's turn to access the RAM, and it accesses the RAM in block 0. So the problem is that I didn't take that into account. So when the FAT2, S52 or whatever you want to call it, the FAT2 was low and the VIC was accessing the RAM, I was still accepting A13 and A14. Now they A13 I think is pulled high, although I don't think A13 is used in the address. Basically A13, A14 I think should be low, because it's only accessing block 0. So they could be any value. So what happens is that the VIC kind of reads all sorts of random shit. Dave pointed out that, yeah, I need to make sure that A13, A14 address are low when FAT2 is low, and then when FAT2 is high, when the CPU is accessing, then obviously they can be whatever the value is, so that we can access the full 32K. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. I'll show you how this currently works. I have redesigned it, and actually with Dave's help it is actually a lot simpler. I've been able to simplify the logic a lot, so much so that I think all we've got now is a PLD, and we had something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it might be the 3 to 8 decoder. Yeah, we've got a 3 to 8 decoder, Simplification 138, a GAL, PLD, to handle all the logic. Otherwise, we've got like half a dozen discrete logic ICs, so it gets quite busy. And the RAM. And the beauty with using the PLD, which I've got here, is that, well, if you've got an EEPROM programmer, then you can probably program it. So that's not a big deal. And you can also adjust the equations, the logic equations. So if you've messed something up, it's not quite working, you do have some leeway to adjust the logic equations, recompile it, and see if that fixes it. Whereas if you're using discrete logic, you end up like this. So let's just have a quick look how it actually works at the moment. So when you've got the full expansion, it'll take longer to boot up because the VIC's actually counting how much RAM you've got. Let's power that on. Okay, waits a bit, and there we go. So you can see, I might slow this down, but you can actually see CBM Basic version 2 at the top, and then I think I might have it off. Yeah, so I think I've got the expansion off at the moment because it says 6,000 something bytes, which is basically block 0, so that's the 5 plus 3K, and you can see ready, and then you can see the flashing cursor. So what's happening at the moment is because I haven't, I'm not forcing A13 and A14 low when the VIC, when the 6560 is accessing the RAM, it's accessing any sort of random bit, block 0, 1, 2, or 3, whereas it should only be accessing block 0. So that's the problem that hopefully I've solved in the next version. So let's try powering that off. So that's basically should be with it disabled. So if we switch it on, it should. Takes a little bit longer. There. So we've now got the expansion enabled. So we've got the full 20. Wait for this. Yeah. So 23 something. Is it 23, 24? 23,000 bytes ready, available to BASIC. So it's working, but it's the bloody A13 and A14 that's causing a problem. So I could probably pull A13, A14 low. So if I disable it, actually, I might try doing that. If I disable it and I pull A13, A14 low, so it's only block 0, then actually it should work. Let me try that. Okay. Yeah, so that's fixed it. That's what the problem was. So I've pulled A13 and A14 high, and yeah, so the block 0 expansion is working perfectly fine. Okay, I need to do further testing, but that kind of proves what the issue was the A13, A14 being random values when the VIC was accessing it. So Dave was perfectly correct. So I'm confident. Let me just stop recording that. So yeah, hopefully the next version will work exactly how I wanted it to. Okay, that was all. Just a quick update. As quick as I can make it. Thanks for sticking around. Bye for now.